Hi and welcome back everyone to the eXrays YouTube channel. In our today's episode of Xavier's Triumph Tales, we have with us Dr. SIDDARTH SANGHI. He graduated from Xavier's in 2010 and further pursued his B.Tech and M.Tech degree from IIT Kanpur and his PhD degree from United States of America. He then worked in one of the Federal Reserves of US as an economist and is currently based in Seattle as an economist in Amazon. So now, let's start this astounding session.
Hi, sir. I'm Amya Goyal, an editor at eXrays. Our teachers always give us your example that you were from IIT field and you were from the science background. Since at that time also you decided to join a non-conventional background that was of on economics, and you have pursued in it and have quite succeeded in it. I would like to show my profound gratitude towards you for joining us today and unraveling your journey from your school days at St. Xavier's to your current life at Washington. So how is your weather there, sir?
The weather is actually pretty chilly. It's like -10 out here today. It's unusually chilly for Seattle.
Okay.
How's it there in Jaipur?
Sir, it's quite better than the last few days. They were frosty, like very frosty and foggy. So,
Yeah, no,
sir,
it was-
So that brings me to my first question: that why did you choose to settle abroad?
Yeah, so I'm currently in Seattle. I was in St. Louis for my PhD, so it was more like a natural transition for me. At this point, I'm also used to like professionally and personally the way of my lifestyle here in the US. That being said, there is no and I keep saying this to anyone who talks to me about it. There is no right or wrong answer to where you want to settle. It totally depends on your life
Yes.
priorities, where your work takes you. And maybe some years down the line, like I might find myself in India, Europe, wherever. So I totally think that it's totally up to people where they want to settle, especially in India these days. A lot of opportunities are popping up, which weren't there earlier. So I think I'm totally bullish on Indian economy as well. So I think it's a great place to be.
Okay, sir. And like, how are you feeling today, being able to reconnect with your alma mater through eXrays?
No, I'm really glad that. So I think one of the faculty reached out a few days ago. Sapna ma'am reached out a few days ago. So I was really honored, and it would be a privilege to like talk to everyone about it. And I had visited Xavier's like this time. I was in India when like in December for like a couple weeks basically, and I visited India, visited Xavier's for Christmas, over Christmas, and that has been our batch's tradition. So everyone, whosoever is in town, we go to Xavier's for Christmas on the 25th, and this time as well there were like I think 10-12 folks from both bio background and in like E-section. Back in the day it was econ folks, and in commerce as well. So like quite a big group was there as well. So it was good to see that, and at the same time I received Sapna's message around the same time. So it was good to like connect with you all and pass on all and any wisdom that I can in any shape or form.
So we are truly grateful for you to joining us and passing on your wisdom to us. And so like, can you please give us a glimpse into your school days at St. Xavier's, and like which clubs or events were you an active participant of?
Yeah, so I think like at Xavier's, one thing that I and maybe my parents and everyone around me, including my friends and teachers, encouraged me to do is to try out various things. Like so, I tried like quite a few sports. I tried basketball. I tried swimming. I spent like years learning swimming. I was initially afraid of swimming because of a childhood experience with that, but I spent like I think from standard second onwards I started swimming. That was really good. I still like look forward to swimming days. I have a few trips coming up as well where I plan to snorkel, scuba dive. All of that is possible because Xavier's provided this opportunity. There was an in-house or in-school swimming pool that we could all access to. So it was really good. I tried out musicals as well. I think I tried in second or third standard. Someone encouraged me to try to sing, and then I really wanted to like understand what that is about. So I went ahead and close to where I used to live in Jaipur, there's a Sangeet Mahavidyalaya, and I went there to finish like a 4-year, 5-year. I started on a journey for 4-year, 5-year Sangeet Visharad course. It's a vocal classical Indian classical music course. So everything that I look back that I currently do, like be it yoga, meditation, be it swimming, be it any kind of fun stuff. You might see like some music instruments in the back as well. Like all of that is going back to Xavier's. That the school really does provide like a whole, not just academics, right? That's a big part of it, but also non-academic stuff and a holistic development of someone. And then you are free to do what you want, you really want to pursue in life. It sets you like a good foundation for everything that you want, and you can achieve that basically.
Yes, so school is like a plethora of opportunities, and it's opportunities everywhere of different kinds. So,
Exactly.
getting into IITs is an aspiration of many. So, can you please enlighten us with your IIT preparation journey?
So it has been a like a huge disclaimer, huge disclaimer. IIT patterns keep changing. Even when I was at Kanpur, IIT Kanpur, their patterns during then has changed quite a bit. So please take everything I'm saying with a huge grain of salt. So that's why I'll try to make what I say more generic. So one thing that was clear to me, at least, was that it requires a lot of sacrifice. So you have to, like, especially for like maybe a year or two in 11th or 12th, that's when I started the preparation in 11th, seriously. So at that point, it requires like quite a bit of sacrifice. When your friends might be pursuing something, you can choose to do that, but you need to understand that it's sort of a sacrifice that you are making. And it's not to say that I think it's the competitive nature of India and some of the other countries as well that have like a few good institutions and a good a large population that makes it difficult to sort through things. So it makes these these competitive exams like super duper hyper competitive, more than they actually deserve to be, right? Like but the nature of it is like you have to put in a lot of hours towards that. Having said that, one thing that was what worked for me was like I was totally fine with not going into an IIT, right? Like so going into taking an exam, like a lot of pressure is taken away if you think that life outside of IIT is also equally good. Like some IITians also are not as or some non-IITians are also doing pretty well, and vice versa. So there's no need to be completely focused on a single exam. On that single day, anything can happen, right? Like you wake up with a bad stomach, or you couldn't sleep well last night, and your exam is completely taken away. So I think it's important to also like reduce the amount of importance we give to one such exam. But at the same time, if for any of these exams you have to be like super focused, and you have to probably sacrifice a year or two of your life, like last few years of your school years, unfortunately.
So, sir, what inspired you to pursue your MSc in economics rather than any science-related subjects that one aims to study at IIT?
Yeah, so there were quite a few things. So first was, so whenever I try to do something, I try to look back on what's the next step, right? So when I was looking at like what are the possible opportunities out there in terms of engineering branches, science branches, multiple institutions, right, across India, I got this impression that a lot of people end up doing core engineering roles after their engineering programs, such as folks do consultancies, like you become a consultant in, say, some firms like BCG, McKinsey, whatever those firms, or you become like a financial economist or an analyst in say banks like Credit Suisse, DB. Those were also pretty big, at least when I was looking at those. So then an economics degree actually is a much better equipped to for these type of jobs. That you might do engineer, you might do civil, and then if you look at the placements, if you want to be say work at a Credit Suisse or say a consult firms, then you might actually be better off by taking up a different program that's much more catered towards that. So that was one. And then I also took, like, in 11th and 12th, I already had an econ background. Gopal sir had back then just joined at the right time for me. So or a few years before I was in 11th standard. So it was the right time. I took econ with him for a couple of years, and then I was really curious about how of the whole demand in supply, the basic stuff that we did in 11th and 12th standard. So I thought of like giving it an informed shot compared to more traditional things. And of course, it was there was a lot of like detailed research behind it, right? Like I went and like dived deep. It wasn't like a gamble, but it was at the end of the day still like a non-conventional path, right? Like so it was still like a risky move in that sense. But I'm glad that I did that, and I really like I really like econ, and I enjoy working, and I still continue to work as an economist. So I'm pretty happy about the choices I made.
Okay, and like, how was your experience at IIT Kanpur?
It was pretty good. So at Kanpur, the way it works is for a year or 3 semesters, like roughly a year and a half, you do get quite a few of the stuff is same for everyone. Like you do physics, like at Verma taught us physics. I think you do like two courses of physics, then I think physics, chemistry, maths, and then I think some computing stuff. So quite a few courses are similar for a year and a half. And at that point, you have an option to change the branch. So you can change like a different branch. You can do like majors and minors. Before I was graduating, I think they already started like these more flexible programs. So you could do like, I don't know, a bachelor's in computer science and major or minor, however they call it in say econ, for example. So it was pretty good. Like I think, so the program is pretty well structured. There are lots of resources, lots of opportunities that IITs provide, and IIT Kanpur provided me. That was really useful. Like so it wouldn't have been possible. So I during my Kanpur experience, I went and did quite a few internships abroad, quite a few research internships that helped me pursue the research opportunities I wanted to pursue, because research is something you don't really get to you can read so much about it, but until you do it yourself, you don't really get the gist of it. So it was really good to like get those opportunities that that set the path, that set the ball rolling for the future. And that's what led me to my PhD in econ. So it was crucial for my subsequent path. I also sat in placements. I got I got through, because both were happening at the same time, placements and then PhD applications. So I got like Credit Suisse, one of the banks basically, and then at that time it was like whether to take up a job in India, a good job that people may want, or go for further studies. And I wanted to like invest further in my education, and decided to come to the US for that.
Sir, I would now thank you and invite Girija to take over.
So, sir, how did your schooling at Washington University in St. Louis go?
Yeah, it was, so the way PhDs are structured, PhD courses are very hard, and they're meant to be very rigorous. So you go from being the way I think about it, you go from being a consumer of knowledge, where you are reading things, to being a producer of knowledge, right? So you're innovating, and the way you want to think about it, suppose you read, there's a balloon, just to draw an analogy. There's a balloon, you're reading, you're expanding your knowledge, balloon is expanding. Sounds good. But then for PhDs, you really are just innovating in a specific part of that balloon. You're just moving that frontier a little bit, like a blip in that surface of that balloon, basically. So you have to be expert in a specific thing, and cannot be a generalist or reading something about it. So to do that, basically, you spend a lot of years after years trying to do that blip in the frontier of research. So it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of perseverance. So the way PhD programs in the US, for those who are interested, at least in econ, the way they are structured is you do like a 2-year full sequence of courses to bring everyone together on the same page, because people are coming from various countries, various backgrounds. Some had different econ, different math, all that fun stuff. So you get everyone on the same page, and then for the next 3 to 4 years, you do research, you innovate, and you try to find your advisors, and you work with them in the field that you are interested in, the problems that you want to address. excuse me. So it was an interesting experience. It was also a bit of a challenge initially to go from India to the US, and then where things are a little bit how should I say it? You have to do everything on your own. So in the first week of moving to the US, you might find yourself like assembling a furniture because IKEA sells it, and then you have to assemble it yourself at home. You're not going to get like a person to do it for you that you would in India. So you do quite a few things together, but all that is also helpful. You cook your own stuff. You learn how to not just cook, but like what you like, what you shop. You're truly an independent person. In that sense, it's a little bit daunting, but that's also like the learning part of it, where you are truly just out there to explore and learn, and that makes you prepared for like what lies ahead in actual world, right out there, where you're making decisions about yourself, about your financial self, or about your professional self as well. So I think it was a very, very interesting and enriching experience. So right after my PhD, I was at St. Louis Fed for a little bit, where it was a transitory role, but I decided to stay because of COVID. I decided to stay in St. Louis. That helped with the transition a little bit. So that also, like, COVID had changed quite a few things as well, because people who are graduating in COVID, they were like they were completely isolated in a way that they were in a new country, especially those who are starting, right? So I was still like in my 5th or 6th year by the time COVID hit, 5th year or something by the time COVID hit. So I have established all the networks everywhere, like friends and everything. My support system was in place, versus folks who were starting then during COVID. It was pretty difficult for them because they were completely in a new country, still assembling IKEA furniture when COVID is out there. They don't even know how to get a license and all those things. So it was, I think it was a lot easier for me than some other folks, but it was definitely like a learning experience, pre-COVID, post-COVID, everything.
And you did your PhD around this time or before it? Sorry, not the PhD, the thesis.
Yeah, so thesis was right after second year. So in econ, right after, so from third year onwards, you start working on your thesis. You find the people you want to work with. So you're not, so I think in some of the science programs, you're tied to a particular person or a particular lab. In econ, you're tied to a particular department, and you're free to choose whosoever you want to work with within that department, or even across, like, say, business schools, finance, and other places. So you explore around a bunch, you take a few courses in the initial 2 years, talk to people, maybe be a research assistant for them. You try to see where your interests lie. I had some idea going into a PhD what I wanted to do, but a lot of people actually don't. And even my interests kept changing as you get exposed to more interesting research, interesting problems. But because from sitting in India, you are only, or even with quite a few research internships and everything, you get exposed to only so few things that finally you would have to decide for yourself what works for you and what problems interest you, because you have to be working on it like day in, day out for years to come. So it has to be something that you really care about from deep from within. So yeah.
And you teach at St. Louis?
Yeah, so during PhD, you teach like a few courses. I taught one which was money and banking to undergrad folks back in, I think, 2018 or something. I wasn't too heavy on teaching because teaching wasn't something so I wanted to do more research and wanted to spend more time on research and intellectual curiosity there, as opposed to teaching. Teaching is a fun experience as well. Like the best part about teaching is like you feel like you are giving something forward. It takes a lot of work, but the fulfilling aspect is that you're giving something forward. You are helping someone else. You got the knowledge, and now you're transmitting that. You're helping shaping how people think about world out there through your teachings, and you learn with them as well as you teach them. So I think it's a fun experience. I did that once with like a full course, and quite a few times as a teaching assistant as well. But that was fun. But that's during PhD. I didn't teach after my PhD.
And your Amazon job at pricing systems, in pricing systems?
Yeah, so I'm currently, yeah, I think your voice got cut. You can repeat.
So your Amazon job at pricing system, how is it like?
Yeah, so it's kind of the same, similar. So it's sort of in the same domain as I'm an economist at Amazon. So what we do is anything that gets sold on retail side of Amazon, like Amazon.com, especially the retail catalog, we come up with the prices. We develop models to price like those millions and millions of products that are out there. So it uses the same things that I learned in grad school and the same broad econ tools and research that I did, which is basically how do individuals and firms react to different type of incentives, and how do we build models to like price these prices. So I'm part of the science team in retail pricing systems at in the Seattle headquarters here. Yeah, I joined Amazon like roughly a year and a half ago after spending a year at the Fed, and I've been here since I think July of 2022, I think.
So during your schooling, before your schooling, currently at your job, how do you handle all the stress and pressure during? How did you handle it during all this time? Did your techniques change or did they remain the same?
Yeah, I think like I keep adding more things to my because stress is everywhere, right? And it's part and parcel of being human, basically. So you try to I try to add different things to my toolkit. I think one thing that has really helped and has always helped is to think about what is in my control and what's not. So so if things are if there is something that if there is a problem at hand, I try to ask myself, suppose there is an exam. Now you're worried about whether or not some type of question that might show up. You don't like, say, geometry. That will show up in the math exam. What's in your control? Is that in your control? No. What's in your control is how do you prepare, right? So you can prepare, you can do what's in your control, which is prepare, work hard, work on your weak parts that you yourself know are not your strongest suit. And then work towards that. So that's what I try to do. I differentiate between what's in my control and what's not, and what's not in your control is not in your control. Like why worry about it, basically, or type of questions will show up in a JEE exam. God knows, there's no point stressing about it, right? So so that's something that I do. The other thing that I do is really just think about what's the worst possible outcome that can happen. Like suppose you're taking a JEE exam. You're in the morning, you might go, like if you want to think about the world, you'll be like in a completely different spiral. You'll be like, suppose I fail this exam, I'll be a disaster, no one will like me, I'll lose my friends, I'll stay unemployed for the rest of my life, whatever, like complete misery. But if you think about it more practically, if you ask yourself like realistic questions, no, that's not the case. Like even if you don't clear this stupid exam, this exam, not stupid, you should take that part out. But if you don't clear this exam, like life is going to be pretty good. Like there are plenty of IITians that are good, plenty that are struggling, and vice versa. Like plenty of non-IITians that do also pretty well, better than IITians in that sense. So I think one of the founders, if you look at like top 10 CEOs across the world, like Indian top 10 CEOs, you won't find many IITians there. You will find maybe some IITians there, sure. So that tells you that it's not the end of the world. It's not end of be all. So that helps reduces that stress, the pressure from that one specific event, one specific exam that you might have attributed your entire life to. But yeah, so these are the two things that I typically do and have been doing, and I continue to do to help ease the stress and pressure and to bring focus into my life.
So the next question is, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think one best piece of advice I would say, so if you think about perseverance is more, or grit or hard work is more important than being smart. So one example for that is at least in my in say in these how should I say it, in these more numerical or these the type of professions that I do basically. But to give you an example, so suppose you improve, you take it a goal for yourself to improve yourself 0.1% every day. 0.1%, not 10%, not 1%, 0.1% every day. You do that for a year, and you will realize that by the end of a year, by 2025, you would have been 44% improved compared to a version a year ago. Why? That's the power of compounding. That's the power of a dedicated but continuous but dedicated improvements, just 0.1% into your own life. So that's something I find really powerful, that it's not about a one good day that you had over these years, but it's really about perseverance. It's really about just improving yourself a little bit every day and working towards that goal. I think that's something that is really undervalued and it's not as appreciated as it should be, but something that has really worked well for me.
And everyone has the principles or the moral code of conduct they follow in daily life. What's yours?
Moral code of conduct. I think I like to follow like a set routine. So routine works well for me. So I try to like wake up at a particular time. So I follow all these rules and routine that works well for me. But at the same time, I've also realized that one should also embrace uncertainty, right? Like there's only so much you can plan for. There's only so much you can worry about and plan like in a given day. So take it with a chill pill, and you can just embrace the uncertainty in a day as well that life will throw at you. So being more structured, that's my go-to thing. But at the same time, embracing uncertainty that's going to be there in life whatsoever. So these are the two things that I would call it code of conduct, if you may.
And what is you will suggest to other students interested in economics?
Yeah, I think economics is a good field. It can be applied to a bunch of different problems. It really is about how individuals and firms, people basically react to different incentives, be it prices, be it policies, be it anything. So I feel like it's really a study about human behavior and how do individuals react. So if you're interested in those type of things, I think econ is the good place to be. It is good in terms of it has also good prospects in terms of job prospects. So it's not compared to some of the other some similar behavioral fields. So I think it's very quantitative. It's very math and quant and math driven. So I think it's also pretty useful in today's world. So a lot of the data science innovation that you are seeing, a lot of it is economists are pretty well suited for those type of roles as well. So I would say that just go read up some books if you end up liking that. Some people don't, right? It's not everyone's cup of tea. If you don't end up liking it, sure. But if you do end up liking it, give it a serious thought. I think and I'm happy to chat more with if anyone needs to talk about it as well. But yeah, I don't know if it helps answer your question though.
And now I hand over the mic to Ameya Didi for the rapid fire round.
Thanks, Girija. So now it's time for the most exuberant segment of the interview, that is the rapid fire. So the first question is, what is the best memory of your school time?
Best memory is falling in the swimming pool, I suppose, and then a few years later learning how to swim.
Okay, so, and like, what about the best memory from IIT Kanpur?
That was we were organizing like some of the festivals at IIT Kanpur. So we had like was it Raghudas? Some folks who are coming to play and like so arranging things for them and having a fun time at the festival was probably the best time, I would think.
Okay, so and like, is there any JEE concept that still haunts you?
JEE concept that still haunts me, probably some geometry math crazy question, I suppose.
Okay. And like, who is your biggest cheerleader?
I would say my close friends and family, my sister, and my close family. I think that would be it.
Okay. And like, which is your favorite book or movie?
Book. So there's one which is called I'm reading right now, which is called Subtle Art of Not Giving a basically it's about like what to care about and what you don't want to care about. You can't care about everything in the world, and so that's an interesting book. I'm giving context because the big book title is a bit the other could be, if that's too censored, we can, the other is Atomic Habits. It really is about how habits form, and then how you can include things in your day-to-day to make them into your habit, so that they can stick. That could be another book.
Okay, sir. And like, school friends or office colleagues?
Friends, for sure.
Okay. And like, school friends or IIT friends?
That's a tough one. So it's a tie.
Okay. And like, what's your favorite thing about your job?
The favorite thing about my job is they pay me to do what I like to do, to think about interesting problems in an interesting way, and they pay me to do that. So that's the best part, if you get paid to do what you like.
Yes, sir. And like, do you have any guilty pleasures?
For me, those would be eating some chocolate, maybe Ferrero Rochers or something, and maybe Maggie, making Maggie at home whenever I'm down. That's what I do.
Okay. And like, what is a quote that always motivates you to march forward?
A quote that motivates me to march forward. So yeah, one thing my advisor used to say, especially when I was having like like low times in during my PhD, he used to say that everything will be okay in the end. If it's not, if you're not happy, then it's not the end. So that's something that resonated me very well with me very
Yeah,
well.
that's like really motivating, and like it brings us to the end of this enlightening interview that will always inspire us to follow our heart, and everything fine will happen at the end. So thanks a lot for joining us, sir.